You think a pin is just numbers on a card. I tell you, it is a secret covenant with supply. 4 digits can either lock you into lack or open a vault of plenty. Tonight, I reveal the code. And when you learn it, you will never touch money the same way again. In this lesson, you will learn how to impress the law of wealth on your very life. You will see how words, numbers, and thoughts, the things the world calls small, are the true keys to fortune. You will stop begging money to come, and instead command it as your servant. Most live by chance. You will live by law. That is the difference between lack and abundance, and that is what you are about to discover. Let me speak plainly. You have typed your PIN 1,000 times, yet money still feels scarce. You pray, you hope, you wait, and still the bills pile up. You wonder, why is my effort never enough? That is the old way, the way of fear. But the law of life is not hard labor. The law of life is command. I will show you how to use it. This is not superstition. This is spiritual law in action, and once you see it, you will never again look at your bank card as plastic. You will see it as a rod of power. Here is what we will do together. First, I will reveal the 4 numbers and why they matter. Then I will show you how to use them, not in fear, not in doubt, but in faith. We will speak affirmations that fix these numbers in your heart until they unlock doors no man can shut. You will hear real stories of supply appearing from nowhere, stories of money arriving in perfect ways, overnight. And before we close, I will give you the master affirmation that turns your every transaction into a decree of plenty. Stay with me because one sentence, one code, one law can shift your whole life by morning. Do you see what most people miss? They think numbers are dead, they think words are empty, they think their daily routine has no power. But I tell you, every digit, syllable, every act is alive with vibration. This is why most never move out of lack. They keep pressing the same code with the same fear, and they keep pulling the same result. Tonight I want you to see with new eyes. Because once you see, you will never again approach your PIN as plastic. You will see it as covenant. You will see it as a seal. You will see it as command. Now let me show you why. The scripture says, death and life are in the power of the tongue. And I add, death and life are in the digits of your hand. Every time you repeat a thing, you impress it. You write it on the subconscious, and the subconscious has no humor. It does not say, oh, he is only joking. It obeys. If you speak fear, it obeys fear. If you speak plenty, it obeys plenty. If you type in doubt, the system of your life repeats the doubt. But when you type in faith, when you bless those digits and see them as alive, you give the subconscious a new order. And the subconscious, like steam, like electricity, runs to fulfill that order in perfect detail. I once told the story of a woman who used to say, I wish I lived in a trunk. She said it half in jest, half in weariness, but her subconscious had no jest. It took the picture, stamped it, and in due time she found herself living from a trunk, stripped of plenty, stripped of comfort. Do you see? Even careless repetition creates destiny. So, how much more when you charge each number with blessing, when you turn the very act of pressing a code into a decree of supply? That is why I tell you, digits are not dead. They are alive, and they wait for your command. And here is what I will give you. When you touch your 4 numbers, do not see them as plastic. See them as gates. See them as doors. See them as channels through which wealth flows. You might say aloud, these digits are blessed. They open my way to plenty. Simple words, simple act, yet power beyond measure. Because every time you repeat them, you tell your subconscious, this is my truth, this is my law, this is my order. And your subconscious, faithful servant, obeys. So let me ask you, will you go on pressing numbers in fear, wondering if there is enough, dreading what the balance will say? Or will you, from this moment, turn the keypad into your altar, your covenant, your channel of wealth? Because the choice is yours, and once you choose, the law will rush to meet you. Do not despise this. Do not call it small. It may sound simple, but simple is the gate. Simple is the code. Simple is the way the infinite hides great power. Remember this truth, and we will go deeper still. Because now that you know digits are not dead, you are ready to see the power of 4 and how those 4 corners hold your entire square of life. The thing most people fail to grasp and the very thing that keeps them locked outside the door of abundance is the belief that numbers are neutral, that they mean nothing, that they carry no weight beyond the mathematics of the world. They treat digits as if they were lifeless scratches on a page or cold buttons on a machine, and then they wonder why their life echoes with lack, why their accounts look thin, why every effort seems to fall flat. But I tell you plainly, numbers are alive, they hum with vibration, they carry law in their very shape. And when you press them, you are not merely accessing a bank, you are giving the universe an order, you are impressing the subconscious, you are sealing your own fate. Most do not realize that every press is a prayer, every repetition is a covenant, every number is a door, and whether you open that door to plenty or to poverty depends upon the spirit in which you use it. So let me draw this out until it sinks deep. The scripture says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue." And I tell you, death and life are also in the digits of your hand. Think of it like this. Each time you speak, each time you type, each time you press, you are stamping a record into the subconscious mind. And that mind does not laugh, it does not dismiss, it does not question, it only obeys. It is the faithful servant, it is the great recorder, it is the silent machine of your destiny. If you say, "I cannot afford," that phrase becomes law to your subconscious, and it organizes your affairs to prove it true. If you whisper, "I am broke," the subconscious seals the record and repeats it. If you press numbers with a knot in your stomach, dreading what the screen will show, you multiply dread, and you carry it forward into your tomorrow. But if you press with a spirit of command, if you look at the code as covenant, if you bless each digit and declare, "These numbers open the vault of heaven," then your subconscious receives a new law, and life rushes to obey it. I once told the story of a woman who always complained she wished she lived in a trunk. She said it half in jest, half in bitterness, but her subconscious did not jest. It took her words, recorded them faithfully, and in due season she found herself stripped of house and comfort, truly living out of a trunk. Do you see the power of careless repetition? Do you see how even the smallest joke, the faintest murmur, the repeated phrase becomes a seed, and the subconscious waters it until it bears fruit? Now consider this. If idle words can carry you to a trunk, how much more can charged words and blessed digits carry you into plenty? If a careless phrase can lock you into lack, then a deliberate decree can open the way into abundance. The difference lies in recognition, in intention, in faith. That is why I tell you to stop seeing your pin as plastic, stop seeing digits as dead, stop treating your keypad as machinery, and start seeing it as an altar. Every time you press, you are standing before the law, you are issuing a command, you are sealing a covenant. Say to yourself, "This code is alive. It opens doors no man can shut. It is blessed. It is covenant. It is law." Let those words echo as you press. Let your heart charge each digit with faith. See them as gates, not buttons. See them as doors, not numbers. And as you do, you will feel the weight shift inside you, the fear dissolve, the dread disappear, and you will sense that you are no longer a beggar before the bank, you are a commander at the gate. I ask you now, will you continue typing in fear, praying silently that there is enough, dreading the figures that flash before you, or will you from this very moment transform the act into a decree, a ritual of command, a living practice of wealth? The choice rests entirely with you, but know this. Once you bless the digits, once you treat the code as covenant, the law will respond. The subconscious will obey, and life itself will rearrange to fulfill the new order you have given. This is not theory, this is law, this is practice, this is power, and when you take it up, you will never see money, numbers, or codes in the same way again. So hold this truth tight. Digits are not dead. They are alive with vibration, waiting for your decree. And now that you see this, you are ready to take the next step, to discover the power of 4, to see how those 4 digits mirror the 4 corners of life, and how your very pin can become the square of wealth, health, love, and perfect expression. What I show you next may sound too simple, too plain, but remember, the infinite hides its greatest laws in the smallest acts, and the code you hold is one of them. This next part may sound strange to the reasoning mind, but I tell you it is one of the deepest keys, for the infinite hides great laws in the smallest things, and what the world mocks as trivial, heaven knows to be power. I am speaking now of the power of 4. Why 4? Because 4 is the number of completion, the number of wholeness, the number of the square of life. Think of the 4 corners of a foundation. Think of the 4 winds that sweep the earth. Think of the 4 rivers that watered the garden in the beginning. 4 always speaks of balance, of stability, of fullness. And when you stand before your code, when you press those 4 digits, you are not merely typing into a machine, you are impressing upon your life the whole square of existence, health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. Every digit is a corner. Every digit is a pillar. Every digit is a decree. And when they are aligned in faith, they seal the pattern of abundance so completely that nothing can shake it. Let me make this plain, for most have never seen it. 1 digit may carry your health, and if you press it in fear, you seal sickness into your path. Another digit may mirror wealth, and if you press it with doubt, you seal lack into your tomorrow. Another digit may hold love, and if you press it with resentment, you push away the very people and favor you long for. Another digit may reflect self-expression, and if you press it in self-pity, you close the door on your true work and your right destiny. But if you bless each one, if you touch health with thanksgiving, wealth with command, love with joy, and self-expression with courage, then the 4 digits together form the perfect square, and the square of life is sealed into your path. The subconscious cannot argue, it cannot resist, it can only obey, and when the pattern is whole, the outworking must also be whole. Think of a builder who lays out the foundation of a house. He does not measure only 1 corner and hope for the rest. He measures all 4. He stretches the line, he sets the stone, he checks the angles, because he knows the whole strength of the house rests upon the balance of the 4 corners. If one is crooked, the walls lean, the roof shifts, the whole structure falters. In the same way, your life is held up by 4 corners: health, wealth, love, self-expression, and your 4-digit code is a picture of that square. Every time you use it, you are either confirming the strength of the foundation, or you are weakening it with fear. This is why so many live in houses of lack, houses of fear, houses of collapse, because they never realized they were building with their own digits, pressing codes of doubt, pressing numbers of lack, pressing fear into the very foundation of their life. But tonight, you are shown a better way. You can turn it all around by blessing the 4. You can speak as you press. This digit seals my health in divine order. This digit seals my wealth in endless supply. This digit seals my love in harmony. This digit seals my self-expression in perfect freedom. Do you see how powerful that is? Do you see how practical? It is no longer routine, it is ritual. It is no longer chance, it is covenant. It is no longer habit, it is law. And when you practice it, when you keep pressing with faith, when you keep blessing the 4 corners, you will feel the square of life settle under your feet, firm, unshakable, rich with divine order. So I say to you, the power of 4 is the power of wholeness. Do not despise it, do not call it small. The infinite never scatters its treasures in the complicated, it hides them in the simple. And now you have seen that digits are not dead, that the 4 are alive, that every press is covenant, that your very pin is a square of life. And because you see it, you are ready for the next unveiling, where I will show you how to charge these digits with blessing, how to turn each act into a decree, how to program the subconscious not with fear but with wealth, and how to set in motion the law that multiplies by morning. This is the place where most stumble, for they hear the truth, they nod their head, they agree in theory, but they never practice it in the little things. And so their subconscious remains filled with the old records of fear and lack. I tell you plainly, the subconscious is like a phonograph plate. It records every sound, every note, every word, every act, and then it plays it back in your experience. It is the most faithful servant, and yet it is also the most ruthless master, because it cannot choose, it only obeys. If you feed it fear, it will outpicture fear. If you feed it lack, it will outpicture lack. If you feed it words of doubt, it will create events that prove doubt was justified. But when you learn to feed it with faith, when you learn to impress it with wealth, when you learn to charge it with divine decree, then it becomes the golden servant, creating abundance, health, love, and success in exact detail. This is why I tell you that every time you type your PIN, you are not simply withdrawing or checking balance, you are programming your subconscious, You are issuing a command that will shape your affairs. You are setting in motion the law that cannot fail. Do not dismiss this as fanciful, for I have seen it again and again. A woman once came to me weary and worn, and she confessed that every time she opened her purse she felt the sting of lack, and she would mutter, "I never have enough." She thought it harmless venting, but her subconscious did not think so. It recorded her word as law, and soon every channel dried up, every opportunity shut down, and she indeed never had enough. I said to her, "Change your word, bless your purse, see it crammed and jammed with money," and she obeyed. She began to say, "This purse is a magic purse. It can never be emptied. It is filled with yellow bills, green bills, pink checks, blue checks, gold and silver. Every time I open it, it overflows." Within weeks, she was given thousands of dollars, and her purse indeed became a magnet for supply. This is the proof that the subconscious obeys ritual and repetition. It does not ask if you mean it, it does not test if you are serious, it simply carries out what you feed it. So when I tell you that every touch of your pin is a command, you must see how weighty that is. If you press in dread, you multiply dread. If you press in doubt, you press in doubt, stamp doubt into tomorrow. But if you press in faith, blessing each digit, declaring each code as covenant, then you program the subconscious with wealth, and wealth must outpicture, for law cannot fail. This is the hidden ritual of money, not the counting of coins or the tallying of figures, but the silent act of faith repeated until the subconscious can no longer resist, until it must obey and bring forth increase. Think of it like planting seed. If you plant weeds, you will reap weeds. If you plant roses, you will reap roses. The subconscious is the soil. Your words, your digits, your rituals are the seeds. Whatever you press with conviction will spring up in due season. This is why I tell you never to joke about lack, never to mutter about poverty, never to rehearse fear, because you plant those seeds afresh, and the soil does not know they were spoken in jest. It only knows to bring them forth. But if you dare to bless, if you dare to declare, if you dare to turn every repetition into a ritual of wealth, then the soil obeys, and in due time, your life blossoms with abundance. So here is what I instruct you to do. Every time you approach your code, pause and remember, this is not habit, this is decree. See the digits as alive. Bless them as gates of supply. Speak under your breath if you must. These numbers open the vault of heaven. These numbers seal my covenant with plenty. Feel the shift as you press. Sense the law moving to obey. And know that each act is a rehearsal of wealth, a command to your subconscious, a planting of seed that cannot fail. If you keep at it, if you stay faithful, if you refuse to fall back into fear, then the subconscious, faithful servant that it is, will bring you evidence, sometimes swiftly, sometimes overnight, sometimes in ways you never dreamed, but always in perfect timing, always in perfect order, always in exact obedience to the word you have pressed into it. So let this sink deep. You are programming your life. Every time you type. You are sealing your destiny every time you press. You are planting your harvest every time you touch the code. And the question I ask you now is simple. Will you continue to press in fear, or will you from this moment forward turn every touch into ritual, every act into covenant, every digit into decree? Because once you choose the latter, you will see proof, you will see supply, you will see money grow by morning, and you will know that the law never fails. Now, let me take you even deeper into this mystery. Because it is not enough to know that you are programming your subconscious, you must also learn how to bless what you touch, how to lift the ordinary act into the realm of the divine, how to take the very digits that the world calls meaningless and charge them with power until they become irresistible magnets for supply. Most people treat their pin with fear, they dread using it, they see it as a symbol of lack, they look at the numbers and feel only anxiety, and so they keep multiplying anxiety. They keep sealing lack into their subconscious, and they keep wondering why the flow of money never seems to turn in their favor. But the moment you bless a thing, the moment you see it not as a symbol of fear, but as a channel of faith, the whole vibration changes, the whole energy of your life shifts, and what once felt like an empty purse becomes a magic purse. What once felt like a dead code becomes a living covenant. What once felt like a hopeless act becomes a holy decree. I once told the story of a woman who had only $2 to her name, and she came to me in despair, asking how she could possibly change her situation. I said to her, "We bless these $2, we call them endless, we see them as seeds that cannot fail." I told her to imagine her purse as crammed and jammed with money, to see it bulging with yellow bills, green bills, pink checks, blue checks, silver, gold, and every form of currency, and to give thanks that he was so. She was so filled with faith that she even gave me one of those $2 as a love offering, refusing to see lack but insisting on seeing plenty. Not long after, she was given a gift of $6,000, a sudden, miraculous increase that came in perfect ways. Do you see the power of blessing? Do you see the law at work? The world saw $2, but she saw covenant. The world saw lack, but she saw supply. And because she dared to bless, the law obeyed, and her purse became the magnet she had declared it to be. This is the same law you must apply to your digits. Do not press them with fear, press them with blessing. Do not treat them as lifeless, treat them as alive. Do not mutter about what you lack, declare what you possess. Every time you type, say to yourself, "These numbers are blessed. They multiply my wealth. They open doors no man can shut. They seal my covenant with abundance." And then feel it. Not only in your words, but in your very body. Let the fear drop, let the dread dissolve, let your shoulders loosen, let your heart rise, and press each digit as if it were a key unlocking a vault, as if it were a seed planting a tree, as if it were a command ringing in the courts of heaven. The subconscious does not resist this. It cannot argue, it cannot deny, it simply obeys, and when you bless long enough, when you charge the act with enough faith, the outworking must appear. Think of it as a sacred exchange. The world says, "Pay with fear, and you will always be in debt." I say, "Pay with faith, and you will always be in plenty." The digits are the same, the bank is the same, the machine is the same, but the vibration you bring changes everything. One person withdraws in despair and multiplies despair. Another withdraws in joy and multiplies joy. One person curses the digits and seals poverty. Another blesses the digits and seals wealth. The difference is not in the number of dollars but in the law at work, and the law always follows faith. So, from this moment on, refuse to use your code in fear. Refuse to mutter about what you lack. Refuse to treat your purse or your digits as empty. Bless them. See them as overflowing. See them as gates of supply. Speak the words of covenant as you press. I now bless these numbers. I charge them with wealth. I declare that they are magnets of supply, and they cannot fail. Repeat it until the subconscious has no choice but to obey, until your life itself becomes the outpicture of that decree, until you wake one morning and see money flowing in ways you never imagined. Because that is the promise of blessing. It multiplies what the world calls little into what heaven knows is endless. And yet, there is another truth you must know if you would be free. For it is not enough to bless, it is not enough to speak faith over your digits. You must also learn the law of substitution, because the subconscious cannot hold two pictures at the same time. If you carry fear, it will stamp fear. If you carry faith, it will stamp faith. If you carry lack, it will stamp lack. If you carry abundance, it will stamp abundance. But when a wrong picture rises, and it will, for the old records are strong, you cannot wrestle with it, you cannot resist it. For what you resist, you invite back. You must substitute. You must replace. You must give the subconscious a new image, a stronger decree, a higher law, until the old picture dissolves into nothingness. This is the mercy of divine law, that every false record may be smashed and every wrong picture may be erased, not by struggle, not by will, but by substitution, by turning the eye from the false to the true, by turning the ear from the lie to the law, by turning the tongue from the curse to the blessing. I remember a woman who came to me, longing for a man she called A, B. She begged me to speak the word that she would marry him. But I said, "That is not divine law. I will speak only for the right man, the divine selection, the one who belongs to you by covenant." She agreed, and though she still saw A.B., nothing ever came of it. One day she came and confessed, "For the last week, A.B. hasn't seemed so wonderful to me." And not long after she met another man who loved her at once, who said she was his ideal, who gave her all the words she had wished to hear from A.B. Her love for A.B. melted away, and she knew this new man was her true mate. That is the law of substitution. The false dissolves when the true appears. The wrong picture cannot remain when the right pattern takes its place. So it is with your digits. If you have been pressing them in fear for years, if you have been seeing them as gates of lack, if you have been rehearsing dread every time you touch them, do not despair. Do not struggle. Simply substitute. Begin to see them as gates of wealth. Begin to feel them as channels of blessing. Begin to declare, these numbers are not doors to lack, they are doors to plenty. They are not dead digits, they are living decrees. They are not reminders of what I owe, they are reminders of what is mine by divine right. And as you repeat this, as you substitute fear with faith, lack with plenty, dread with blessing, the old pictures crumble, the wrong patterns dissolve, and the subconscious, which always obeys, will stamp the new record, and your life will outpicture the new decree. Do not think this takes years. The moment you make the substitution, the moment you truly see the digits as covenant, the shift begins. The subconscious may try to replay the old record, but keep substituting, keep blessing, keep declaring, and soon the old groove is erased and the new one is cut deep. Then, you will find yourself acting differently, expecting differently, receiving differently, because the pattern within has changed, and the outer must always match the inner. That is law. That is certainty. That is the gift you are given. So I tell you again, when the wrong picture rises, do not resist, substitute. When the thought says, I never have enough, say, I always have plenty. When the fear whispers, the balance is too low, declare. The vaults of heaven are wide open to me. When the digits look empty, bless them as full. When the act feels routine, treat it as ritual. And when doubt creeps in, let faith speak louder, let the higher law answer, let the truth substitute until only truth remains. For once you master this, you will never fear again, you will never beg again, you will never press your code in dread again. You will know that every wrong picture can be erased, every false pattern can be dissolved, and every digit can be turned into a decree of wealth. And this, beloved, is how you reprogram the subconscious through ritual, by command, by blessing, by substitution. Do this faithfully, and you will see proof, sometimes swift, sometimes overnight, sometimes in ways you never dreamed, but always in perfect order, always under grace, always in alignment with divine law. And now that you know how to program, how to bless, how to substitute, you are ready to discover the next great mystery, the overnight law of increase, the truth that when you ask, act, and expect, money itself rushes to obey, and wealth comes by morning. This is the turning point where the teaching becomes living proof. For it is not enough to speak of digits, not enough to bless them, not enough to substitute the false for the true. You must also understand the swiftness of divine law, the certainty with which it operates, and the mystery of how it often works while you sleep, bringing into visibility the very thing you have declared. The world believes in toil, in struggle, in long waiting, in endless delay, but I tell you delay is only the shadow of doubt, and when faith is spoken with conviction, when the word is impressed with certainty, when the subconscious is charged with command, then the manifestation can come as suddenly as the dawn, as swiftly as the turning of the night into morning, and often it does, because while you rest, the subconscious does not rest, it is at work, carrying out the decree you have given, arranging the channels, moving the pieces, drawing in the supply from quarters you never imagined, until you awaken to find the need met, the purse filled, the door opened, the very thing you declared standing before you in perfect order. Think of it this way: you plant a seed in the soil, and you go to sleep. And though you see nothing, though the ground looks bare, the seed is at work, the soil is nourishing it. The roots are forming, the sprout is pressing upward, and in the morning there is a sign of life. So it is with your word, so it is with your digits, so it is with every act of faith. You may not see the movement at once, you may not know the channels, you may not trace the paths, but the law is at work, and the outworking can break forth in the night, and by morning the increase is visible. This is why I tell you to ask, act, and expect. For asking alone is not enough, you must act as if it is done, you must prepare the place, you must set the stage, and then you must expect with certainty, knowing that the subconscious never fails to obey a clear command. I knew a woman who had only $8 to her name, and she was pressed by bills and fear, yet she chose to trust the law. She asked for her supply, she acted by giving thanks, and by stepping into faith, she expected by declaring that money was on its way. In the natural, there was no channel, no hope, no door open, but she held firm. Soon after, a channel opened that brought her thousands of dollars, enough to lift her out of fear and into freedom. The law did not delay, the law did not fail. The law did not require long toil, it required only a decree, a faithful act, and a spirit of expectancy. And so it is with you. When you ask in faith, when you act as if it is done, when you expect without wavering, you set in motion the overnight law of increase, and the supply can come in ways that astonish, often at the very hour you least expect, often while you are asleep, so that you awake to find your need already met. This is why I say to you, never beg, never plead, never wonder if it is coming. That is not faith, that is fear in disguise. Instead, speak with authority. The money I need comes quickly, easily, under grace, in perfect ways. Then act as though it were true. Prepare the purse, set the table, dig the ditches, buy the trunk, make room for the gift. And then expect. Expect without wavering, expect without doubt, expect without delay, and know that while you rest, the law is at work, arranging, shifting, commanding, until the supply stands before you. This is not wishful thinking, this is divine order, and once you know it, once you practice it, you will see increase, not someday, not in some vague future, but swiftly, sometimes even by morning. And I want you to see how beautifully, how effortlessly, how unfailingly this law can operate. For it is not chained to the slow grind of human calculation, it is not bound by the figures on your balance, it is not held hostage to the appearances of lack, it moves by faith, and it moves by decree. And when you align yourself with it, you find that what looked impossible yesterday can be in your hands today. What looked delayed last night can arrive by morning. What seemed out of reach can be pressed into your very palm at the hour of need. I knew a woman who was pressed for rent money. She had exhausted every channel she could see, and in the reasoning mind there was no answer. But she had learned this law, and she refused to give way to fear. She declared, "The money I need comes quickly, easily, under grace, in perfect ways." That night her dog tugged at her leash and insisted on walking a different street than usual. She followed, and there, lying in the open, she found a roll of bills, enough to cover her rent exactly. Do you see how marvelous this law is? The reasoning mind said there was no way, the appearances shouted lack, but the subconscious, charged with faith, led her feet into the very place of supply, and she was delivered. This is what I mean when I say that the law is never late, it is never slack, it is never bound, it is swift and sure, and it often works while you sleep or while you walk in the ordinary paths, so that the answer comes in ways you never imagined. I also recall the story of a man who needed a large sum of money within 15 minutes, a situation which to the natural eye seemed absurd. He called upon the law, he declared with authority. The supply I need appears now, under grace. He did not waste the moment in fear. He did not scatter his energy in worry. He acted as if the answer were already given. Within the quarter hour the money came, swift, exact, undeniable. The subconscious, once charged, had moved the channels, had rearranged the circumstances, had brought the supply into visibility. This is the overnight law of increase. It does not move by human schedule. It does not depend upon the clock. It moves by divine timing, which is always perfect, always exact, always on the mark. And this is why I tell you that when you bless your digits, when you charge your code, when you program your subconscious through ritual, you must also add this: expectation of swiftness. Do not imagine a long wait. Do not picture endless delay, for delay is only the child of doubt. Instead, declare, it happens now, it comes quickly, it appears by morning. And then rest, for while you sleep, the subconscious is awake, while you rest, the law is in motion. While you dream, the channels are being opened, and you will rise to find the harvest already prepared. This is not fantasy, this is not wishful thinking, this is law, and law never fails. So I ask you, will you continue to live in the shadow of delay, rehearsing the old record of someday, maybe, perhaps? Or will you step into the certainty of the overnight law, the law that says ask, act, expect, and receive? Because once you do, you will taste the sweetness of supply that comes without strain. You will know the joy of answers that arrive before you have even finished the prayer. You will experience the marvel of money that grows by morning, and you will never again doubt the power of divine law. Now that you have seen how swiftly the law of increase can move, how it operates even in the night seasons, bringing forth your supply as you rest, I want to open before you another mystery, and this is the mystery of divine design. For nothing in your life is random, nothing is scattered, nothing is meaningless, and even the code you carry, the 4 digits you press again and again, is not chance but covenant, not accident but pattern, not chaos but order. The infinite is never wasteful, never careless, never disordered. It writes its law into numbers, into words, into actions, into every detail of your path. And once you learn to read it, once you learn to see the pattern beneath the surface, you realize that every press of your pin is not only a command to your subconscious, it is also a reflection of your place in the great square of life, the 4-fold pattern of health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. Each digit you press is not just a number, it is a corner, it is a stone, it is a pillar holding up the structure of your destiny. When pressed in fear, it weakens the corner, it shakes the wall, it cracks the foundation. But when pressed in faith, when pressed with blessing, when pressed with decree, it seals the design, it strengthens the pattern, it makes firm the foundation, and the whole house of your life stands strong. I want you to imagine the builder laying out his foundation. He does not measure one corner and neglect the rest. He marks out all 4, he checks the angles, he stretches the line, he makes sure the square is true, because he knows that the entire house depends upon the balance of those 4 points. If one is crooked, the whole structure leans. If one is weak, the whole building falters. So it is with your life. You cannot focus only on money and neglect your health, for the foundation will crack. You cannot cling only to love and neglect self-expression, for the pattern will warp. You cannot pursue expression and neglect wealth, for the structure will tilt. You must seal all 4, you must bless all 4, you must hold all 4 corners in faith, for only then does the square of life stand firm. And this is why your 4-digit code is no accident, why it has been given to you as a daily ritual, a daily reminder, a daily chance to bless the corners of your life, to declare them whole, to align them with divine design. So when you type your code, do not see it as empty digits, see it as a square. Let the first digit remind you of health, and press it with thanksgiving, declaring, "My body is strong, my health is secure, divine life flows through me." Let the second digit remind you of wealth, and press it with confidence, declaring, "My supply is endless, my purse is crammed and jammed with money, I prosper in all I do." Let the third digit remind you of love, and press it with joy, declaring, "I am surrounded by harmony, by right people, by divine companionship." Let the fourth digit remind you of self-expression, and press it with courage, declaring, "I walk in my perfect work, my true destiny, my voice is heard, my gifts are used." And when you press the 4 together, see the square complete, the foundation sealed, the pattern aligned, and know that you have just enacted in a few seconds what many spend years chasing: wholeness in health, abundance in wealth, harmony in love, freedom in expression. This is the divine design of your pin, and this is why I say it is not chance but covenant. Every time you use it, you are either sealing the square or fracturing it. You are either strengthening the foundation or weakening it. You are either aligning with divine design or resisting it. And once you see it, once you practice it, once you turn every act of typing into an act of sealing, you will feel the strength of the square under your feet. You will sense the firm foundation, and your life will rise stable, balanced, and abundant in every corner. And that, beloved, is the true wealth, not money alone, but the fullness of life, the whole square, the divine design made visible. And yet there is more, for it is not enough to recognize that your digits correspond to the 4 corners of life. It is not enough to see them as symbols of health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. You must also learn how to seal the pattern, how to fix it so deeply into your subconscious that no storm can shake it, no fear can crack it, no doubt can uproot it. Divine design is eternal. It is written already in the mind of God. It cannot be destroyed. It cannot be lost. But you must align with it. You must agree with it. You must speak it into visibility. The infinite is always seeking expression, always pressing to come forth. But it will not override your disbelief. It will not force its way against your resistance. It waits for your word. It waits for your consent. It waits for your decree. And the act of repetition, the act of sealing, the act of pressing your code with faith day after day, is the way you consent, the way you agree, the way you give the divine pattern permission to manifest in your world. Consider the man who longed for a new apartment, one that would meet his needs, but he saw no way. He had no money, no contacts, no open doors. I told him to prepare in faith, to dig his ditches, to act as if the supply were already on its way. He went and bought blankets, for he said, I will need them in my new place. Not long after, the perfect apartment was given to him, the very thing he had envisioned, and it came easily, under grace. That is what it means to seal the pattern. You repeat the act of faith. You prepare the place, you declare the outcome, you move as though it were already here, and by that repetition, the subconscious is impressed, the law is set in motion, and the manifestation becomes inevitable. So when you press your digits, do not press once and forget. Do not bless one day and fall into fear the next, but keep at it, keep repeating, keep sealing. For every repetition cuts the groove deeper, every act makes the record clearer, every decree stamps the pattern more firmly. The subconscious cannot resist consistency, it cannot deny the groove that is pressed into it. It must play back what is given, and if you give it health, it must outpicture health. If you give it wealth, it must outpicture wealth. If you give it love, it must outpicture love. If you give it expression, it must outpicture expression. And once the pattern is sealed, it cannot be lost, it cannot be erased, it becomes your foundation, your covenant, your unshakable law. This is why I tell you to see every use of your pin as a holy act, not routine but ritual, not accident but alignment, not chance but covenant. Each time you repeat it, you are sealing the square. Each time you press it, you are strengthening the foundation. Each time you declare it, you are fixing the divine design more firmly into your affairs. And soon, as surely as the seed brings forth the harvest, you will see the outworking health renewed, wealth multiplied, love harmonized, expression freed. You will look back and realize that what once felt like random digits have become the very pillars of your abundance, the very square upon which your whole life rests secure. So never despise repetition, never despise the small act, never think it vain to say the same blessing again and again, for it is not vain, it is sealing, it is impressing, it is fixing the pattern until nothing can shake it, and, once you have sealed the divine design of your pin, once the square of life is established under your feet, then wealth flows naturally, health radiates, love surrounds, expression bursts forth, because the foundation is true. And now, beloved, having seen the design and having learned how to seal it, you are ready to step into the greatest key of all, the spoken word that unlocks, the living decree that makes digits alive, the affirmation that turns a code into a command and opens the gates of supply. You have now seen that digits are not dead, that they vibrate with power, that they carry the covenant of the square of life, and you have seen that through blessing and repetition, you can seal the divine design into your subconscious until the whole of your life stands upon that firm foundation. But here is the highest secret, the crowning revelation, the thing that gives life to every other law I have spoken. Numbers alone cannot create, rituals alone cannot command. Even repetition alone will not open the gate unless you add the living spark of the spoken word. For your word is the wand, your word is the scepter, your word is the key that turns the lock. Scripture declares, by thy words thou art justified, and by thy words thou art condemned. It does not say by your work, or by your struggle, or by your calculation. It says by your word. The tongue is the rudder, the decree is the power, the spoken word is the law in action. And when you add word to number, when you clothe your digits in decree, when you breathe life into your pin with affirmation, then you hold in your hand a magnet that nothing can resist, a code that no man can shut, a covenant that no circumstance can break. Think of the sea captain in the storm who commands, "Peace, be still," and the waves obey. Think of the fog that surrounded a ship until a woman spoke the word, "I speak light and clarity," and the sun broke through. Think of the countless moments in your own life when a single word of anger cut like a knife, or a single word of encouragement lifted your spirit for days. If words can kill and words can heal, if words can cut and words can mend, then how much more can words, spoken in faith, joined with numbers, programmed into the subconscious, shape your entire destiny? This is why I say your digits are dead without your decree, your code is powerless without your proclamation, your ritual is empty without your word. The spoken word is the fire that animates the whole, the spirit that quickens the act, the spark that turns repetition into miracle. So when you use your pin, do not press in silence like the world does. Open your mouth. Whisper if you must, declare under your breath if you must, but speak. Speak blessing over each digit. Speak health, speak wealth, speak love, speak expression. Say as you press, these numbers are blessed, these numbers are alive, these numbers are gates of abundance, these numbers open the vault of heaven, these numbers seal my covenant with plenty. And as you speak, feel the shift. The digits are no longer cold buttons, they are living stones. The act is no longer routine, it is ritual. The code is no longer habit, it is covenant. The subconscious hears the word, records the word, obeys the word, and your life outpictures the word. This is why I call your word your wand, for with it you write the script of your destiny, with it you command the elements, with it you call things that be not as though they were until they appear. Do not underestimate this. Do not dismiss it as too simple. For the infinite always hides its greatest treasures in the smallest vessels, and what seems like a whispered phrase over a few digits may carry more power than years of toil and struggle. I once knew a woman who longed for a place in the opera. The doors were closed, the chances were slim, the reasoning mind said it was impossible. But she spoke the word, she declared again and again, I give thanks for my good my down, divinely appointed role, divinely financed, under grace, in a perfect way. And not long after, the opportunity came, the role was given, and her word became flesh. The same law that opened the stage to her will open the vaults to you, if only you will speak, if only you will decree, if only you will treat your digits not as dead numbers but as living words clothed in power. So I ask you now, what will you speak? Will you mutter curses under your breath? Will you repeat the old record of lack? Will you whisper, I cannot afford, and bind yourself again to poverty? Or will you open your mouth in faith? Will you declare blessing? Will you say, I am an irresistible magnet for all that is mine by divine right. I prosper in all I do. My money grows by morning, under grace, in perfect ways? For your answer determines your destiny. Your decree shapes your tomorrow. Your word seals your wealth. And once you grasp this, once you practice it, once you add word to number, you will know the joy of a life commanded by decree, a life filled with supply, a life overflowing with abundance. But now I will take you to the very heart of this teaching, to the secret affirmation that binds all the strands together, the master key that ties the digits, the ritual, the blessing, and the law of increase into one unbreakable chain. For while you may speak many blessings, while you may declare many words, there is one decree that I have found to be a rod of power in every circumstance, a phrase that never fails when spoken in faith, a statement that carries the whole vibration of divine law within it. And that decree is this: I am an irresistible magnet for all that is mine by divine right. Do not let the simplicity of it fool you, for within those words lies a force that can rearrange the currents of your life. Pull to you the supply that belongs to you, and dissolve the obstacles that stand in the way. Consider the power of a magnet. It does not strain, it does not beg, it does not chase, it simply holds its nature, and by its nature it draws. It attracts to itself exactly what corresponds to its field. It pulls to itself, without effort, without struggle, without delay. So it is with you when you speak this word. You cease to beg, you cease to strain, you cease to chase, you stand in your true nature, you declare your law, and by that declaration you set in motion an invisible pull, a magnetic field that draws to you every dollar, every opportunity, every gift, every channel that belongs to you by divine right. You do not have to know how, you do not have to map the path, you only have to hold the decree. And the law will bring it, sometimes swiftly, sometimes overnight, but always surely, always in perfect ways. I remember the story of a woman who longed for a certain role on the opera stage. To all appearances, she was shut out, the chances slim, the doors closed. But she learned this affirmation, and she declared again and again, I am an irresistible magnet for all that is mine by divine right. She spoke it as she walked, she spoke it as she dressed, She spoke it until her whole being vibrated with its truth. And soon the doors opened, the role was offered, and she stepped into the very place she had envisioned. The law did not fail her. The affirmation did not return void. The magnet drew the thing to her, not by chance, not by force, but by decree. What worked for her will work for you, because the law is no respecter of persons. It responds not to personality but to principle, not to effort but to faith, not to struggle but to the spoken word. So here is how you apply it. Each time you press your code, each time you touch your digits, speak this affirmation. Say aloud or within, I am an irresistible magnet for all that is mine by divine right. Feel it in your bones. Let the words sink beyond the lips into the heart. Imagine the pull as you say it. Imagine the wealth rushing toward you, the doors opening before you, the channels clearing, the gifts moving into your hand. And then watch, for the law must obey, the subconscious must record, the channels must shift, and the manifestation must appear. Do not weaken it with doubt. Do not cancel it with fear. Hold it steady, hold it firm, repeat it often, and soon you will see the outworking, swift, startling, undeniable. And I say to you again, do not despise this. Do not call it small. Do not dismiss it as simple. For it is the simple things that carry the deepest power. It is the repeated word that cuts the deepest groove. It is the steady decree that builds the unshakable pattern. Add this affirmation to your digits, bind it to your code, seal it into your subconscious, and you will know what it is to walk as a magnet of supply. You will know what it is to see money grow by morning. You will know what it is to command abundance by word and by number. This is the master affirmation, and once you make it your own, you will never beg again, you will never chase again, you will never fear again, for you will know that what is yours must come. It cannot be withheld, it cannot be lost, it cannot fail to appear. You have now walked with me through the unveiling of digits as covenant. You have seen how they carry vibration. You have learned to bless them, to substitute fear with faith, to seal the divine design, to clothe them in word, to charge them with the master affirmation that makes them magnets for supply. But all of this must now be gathered into a way of living, for it is not enough to practice the law here and there. It is not enough to remember it once and forget it tomorrow. It is not enough to taste it in one moment and neglect it in the next. The law is faithful, but it requires constancy. The subconscious obeys, but it demands consistency. The divine supply is endless, but it flows only to those who live by law and not by chance. Most of the world lives by chance, chasing one opportunity and then another, begging one day and despairing the next, hoping luck will shift in their favor. But you, if you will rise above the crowd, must learn to live by law, to stand in command, to walk in certainty, to carry yourself as one who knows that the infinite has spoken, that the decree is done, that what is yours cannot be lost, and what is not yours cannot stay. Consider the difference between begging and commanding. The beggar stands outside, pleading, hoping, waiting, fearful that the answer may not come. The commander stands within, declaring, directing, knowing that the answer is already his, already present, already moving into visibility. Scripture itself records the word of God. Concerning the works of my hands, command ye me. Do you hear that? Not beg, not plead, not whimper, but command. This is not arrogance, this is alignment. For you are not commanding against God, you are commanding with God. You are agreeing with divine law. You are speaking what infinite intelligence has already decreed. And once you see yourself as a commander and not a beggar, once you step into the certainty of law and refuse the uncertainty of chance, your whole vibration changes, your whole being shifts, and your life rearranges to match the authority you carry. I once told of a businessman who faced the collapse of his affairs. He had but minutes before his opportunity would be lost, 15 minutes to be exact, and in the natural there was no hope. But instead of giving way to fear, instead of crying out in despair, he stood and declared, "The law of supply is working in my life. The money I need comes to me now, under grace, in perfect ways." He refused to beg, he refused to tremble, he refused to accept chance as his master. And within that quarter hour, the supply appeared, exact, perfect, undeniable, and his business was saved. This is the power of living by law. This is the certainty of commanding. This is the difference between chance and covenant. And now I say to you, every Transaction is a decree. Every digit pressed is a covenant renewed. Every act is a rehearsal of your faith. Do not treat money as random. Do not treat life as luck. Do not treat your days as accidents. See each moment as law. See each act as covenant. See each press of your pin as a fresh sealing of the pattern. When you buy, bless. When you spend, decree. When you receive, give thanks. When you type, command. And if you live this way long enough, if you keep yourself steady, if you refuse to fall back into the old ways of chance, your life will become a demonstration of law itself, a walking testimony that God's word never returns void, that what is spoken in faith must appear in fact, that what is commanded in spirit must manifest in matter. And I leave you with this image. Imagine a door carved into the rock, sealed tight, immovable to the natural eye. The world calls it impossible. The reasoning mind says it will never open. But you stand before it, and you speak, as Ali Baba spoke. Open sesame, and the rocks slide apart, the way clears, the treasure pours forth. That is the picture of your life when you live by law. Every obstacle becomes a parted wall, every delay crumbles, every barrier dissolves, not by chance, not by luck, but by decree. And once you know this, once you live this, you will never fear again, you will never beg again, you will never doubt again. You will walk as one who knows, one who commands, one who lives not by chance but by divine law. And now, beloved, we come to the close of this teaching, yet it is not an ending but a beginning, not a conclusion but a door. For everything I have spoken is not meant to remain as words in your ear, but to become law in your life, practice in your hand, decree in your mouth, covenant in your very digits. You have seen that 4 numbers are not dead. You have seen that they are alive with vibration. You have seen that every press is a command to the subconscious, that every repetition is a process, planting of seed, that every blessing is a multiplication of supply, that every substitution of fear with faith is an erasing of false patterns, that every affirmation spoken over the digits is a magnet pulling to you what is yours by divine right. You have seen that the design is not random but divine, that the 4 digits mirror the 4 corners of life, that the square of health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression is sealed every time you bless your code, that your word clothes your numbers with life, and that the master affirmation, I am an irresistible magnet for all that is mine by divine right, can rearrange the very currents of your affairs until money grows by morning and plenty overtakes you. And now I ask you to gather all of this not as theory but as practice, not as memory but as covenant, not as inspiration but as law. So let us speak it together now as we seal this session. I now bless my pin. I charge it with divine law. I am an irresistible magnet for all that is mine by divine right. My money grows by morning, under grace, in perfect ways. I no longer beg. I no longer fear. I no longer lean on chance. I live by law. I walk by decree. I command with certainty. And all that belongs to me comes swiftly, easily, joyfully, now. Speak it with me, not once but often, not lightly but with weight, not as wish but as command. For your word is your wand, and with it you draw the pattern, you call the supply, you open the vaults of heaven, you release the currents of increase. And before we part, I want to leave you with one more open door, one more mystery, one more treasure that will carry you into the next teaching. You have learned that digits are alive, you have learned that numbers can be clothed in power, you have learned that affirmations can turn them into magnets of supply. But what if I told you there is a single word, a word more ancient than any number, a word more powerful than any code, a word that when spoken in faith, can move money faster than digits, can shift channels swifter than affirmations, can command supply with a force that startles even the reasoning mind? Most have never spoken it, most have never known it, most have never dared to try, yet those who do see doors open at once, see obstacles dissolve, see wealth rush like a tide into their affairs. Do you want to know that word? Do you want to hear the decree that outpaces every calculation, that surpasses every code, that binds heaven and earth to move on your behalf? Then do not stop here. Click through, watch the next teaching, and I will place that word in your mouth. I will give you the rod of power. I will hand you the secret that makes digits pale beside it. So take this teaching with you. Let it live in your digits. Let it echo in your words. Let it shape your tomorrow. And then follow me into the next revelation. for the law is endless, the supply is boundless, and the treasures are without limit for the one who dares to decree. And let me press this upon your spirit until it burns like fire, and you can never forget it, for the great error of men and women is that they hear truth for a moment. They rejoice in it for a season, and then they let it slip away. They fall back into old habits. They return to the world's way of fear and chance, and the blessing they touched with their hand fades like a shadow. Do not let this happen to you. Hold fast to what you have heard, guard it as a treasure, practice it until it becomes second nature, until your fingers cannot touch a digit without blessing, until your lips cannot open without decree, until your heart cannot face the night without expecting the morning increase. For this is not a game of chance, it is the game of life played by law, and if you will be steadfast, if you will keep pressing, if you will keep speaking, if you will keep blessing, then nothing can keep your supply from you. Nothing can rob you of your abundance, nothing can overturn the covenant that you yourself have sealed. And I tell you again, you have not been left powerless, you have not been abandoned, you have not been cast into a world of scarcity with no key. For the key is in your hand, the code is before you, the word is in your mouth, the law is written in your heart. You are not a beggar, you are a commander. You are not a victim, you are a creator. You are not a pawn of chance, you are a partner of divine law. Begin to see yourself this way, begin to walk this way, begin to act as if the covenant is true because it is. The infinite waits only for your decree, the subconscious waits only for your command, the supply waits only for your expectation. And when you align all three, word, act, and faith, the result is inevitable, the outcome is certain, the increase is swift. So once more, let us seal it with the affirmation that has carried countless souls into abundance. I now bless my pin, I charge it with law. I am an irresistible magnet for all that is mine by divine right. My money grows by morning, under grace, in perfect ways. Speak it again, not as empty repetition, but as covenant renewed, as law enacted, as command issued. Speak it as though heaven bends to hear, as though angels rush to obey, as though the very digits on your card blaze with fire at your word because they do. And as you continue in this practice, as you weave it into the rhythm of your days, you will see the shift, you will feel the change, you will know that you are walking not by chance but by law. And now, as we draw this to a close, I will not leave you empty-handed. I will not leave you without another treasure, for there is more to be revealed. There is a word more ancient than digits, a decree more potent than numbers, a command that when spoken will make the very heavens tremble and the earth obey. Most men and women have never heard it, and those who have heard it have been too timid to speak it, but I will give it to you in the next teaching, for it is the secret word that commands instant supply, the single syllable that gathers fortune like a magnet, the phrase that no wall of lack can resist. You have sealed your digits with blessing, you have clothed them with affirmation, you have aligned them with divine design. Now you must learn the one word that crowns them all, the decree that brings money faster than numbers, the command that heaven itself cannot deny. Do not stop here, for this is not the end but the opening of another door. Click through, follow into the next revelation, take hold of the greater key, and let me place upon your lips the word that will change your life forever. You have proven faithful in digits, now you will be entrusted with the word that transcends them, and when you speak it, you will know that you are no longer chasing wealth, but commanding it, no longer hoping for supply but living in it, no longer wondering if abundance will come but declaring that it must, and watching as it rushes to obey.